Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and today we are going to take a look at a brand new PNSO figure that was just recently released, almost completely unannounced. It just kind of started showing up on eBay and on their Amazon store totally out of nowhere. The PNSO Facebook page doesn't really seem to get updated very often anymore, which is sad because that was kind of how we always knew what was coming out, and I don't believe that it gets updated much at all, if ever, anymore, which is really a downside for most of us, but at the same time, it kind of springs some new PNSO releases on us out of nowhere, so it's sort of exciting at the same time. But again, this Microraptor, I had spotted it on eBay and then noticed that it was actually in stock on their Amazon store, so I did purchase it right away, and it looks really nice, and anytime I can get a new PNSO figure, it is definitely a great day. Look at that really nice image there of the Microraptor taking a look at us. Super cool looking right there. Every life deserves your respect, which is 110% true. Really nice words on the part of PNSO. Same image here on the opposing side. There's not really too much else on the box. So let's go ahead and open it up and take a look at this brand new version of the Microraptor. So as always with PNSO, we get a really cool booklet included here with a really nice image of the Microraptor there on the front. And then once we open it up, we have lots of really nice information on the Microraptor here included, as well as information again on the sculptor up here we could see, and the people behind PNSO, but again, really nice images, really nice information. Love that they include these booklets in with each and every release. And then we have our Microraptor itself, and oh my god, no, it's broken. Actually, that's not true. If you happen to look at the front of the box, you can see that it comes in two different pieces, so we just have to put it together, and now our Microraptor looks absolutely awesome right there in front of us, and I do apologize for that horrible joke. I don't know what I was thinking going into that. But again, the Microraptor is really impressive as far as the size goes. I'm definitely quite psyched that it's quite large in comparison to the previous Microraptor release that PNSO had unveiled upon us not too long ago, but the beautiful iridescent type look to this figure is awesome. It shines so nicely and just looks incredibly flashy here in person. Really nicely detailed. Quite possibly one of the nicest looking PNSO figures I've seen in a long time, which is really saying something. So I really want to show you just how nice with a closer look. So let's do that right now. So starting up here at the head sculpt of the Microraptor, look at how beautiful the skin detail there is, kind of like in the snout area of the Microraptor. Really fantastic looking skin detail and skin texture. You can see the nostrils sculpted out up there. You can also see the teeth down here, and they are really nicely painted, which is also a huge plus. You can see the eye is painted with a white coloration, a nice large black pupil there, and they do have a bit of a shine to it, just like pretty much the entire body does. You can take a look at the opposing side, just as beautiful as the previous side. Really nicely done as far as the paint and sculpt here on this Microraptor. Looks absolutely gorgeous for sure. And you can see kind of a crest of feathers up here on the top of the head of the Microraptor. The actual feather detail there is really nice, very fine feathering it seems up here on the head sculpt of the Microraptor. And again, look at the variation of color. There's like a purple up here on the crest, and then it transitions to a really nice blue down here. But you could see just looking at it, wow, look at that. It has like a blackish type of a look, but like a blackish blue. It's just so unbelievably striking here in person, the way that this is painted. They have just done a great job of really capturing that iridescence to the feathers of the Microraptor. It just shines and looks so unbelievably realistic. Moving down here into the back, you can see some really nice kind of scruffier feathers right there. But coming down here, you can see the feathers do get a bit larger and really nice looking. And I love the fact that the feathers don't look like they're like in any type of a set position. They're just kind of all over the place. I think that looks really cool and a very realistic aspect of the model, which is something PNSO is really good at capturing, is a lot of realism with their figures. And you can see just how beautiful the feather detail is as you run out the length of the wing here. You can see so many different variations of feathers, which a lot of the time when you'll get a figure like this, they'll just be like one style of sculpt for the feathers the entire way out. But you don't see that here with this PNSO version. You can see just, again, lots of different variation in the way that the feathers are sculpted. So that's, again, more really nice realism. Even down here, if we get into like the flight feather area, you can see the feathers are just kind of like, some are crooked, some are all over the place. That's really cool. You can even see some having like bends at the tips. So again, tons of really nice realism added to the figure, and that is definitely something I can 100% respect about PNSO. But again, looking at the paint, look how it shines. Just, that is so unbelievably flashy, but so super realistic. This is just a really, really attractive looking figure as far as the paint scheme goes, because it's just something that really sucks you in. It's just so flashy that you can't help but be drawn into it. You can see that there's like darker blues and there's lighter blues. There's even like some greens coming through here, and then it darkens out here on the tips of the flight feathers. And you see that same ordeal over here as far as both the sculpt and paint. Just absolutely unbelievable looking as far as this sculpt goes. Just such really nice detail. And looking at the feathers again, if we get nice and close, look at that detail that is included within the feathers here on the wing. That is off the charts beautiful. You can see the fingers sticking out up here. If we go here onto the underneath, again, the detail does not cease down here either. You have some scruffy looking feathers here in the underside of the neck and chest region, but also some more really beautiful feathering out here on the wings. Again, so many different varying sizes. They start out really fine here and they get larger and larger until we get out to these like flight feathers. And again, look at how they're all like crooked and everything. They're just kind of all over the place, and it's so unbelievably nice. You can see the really nice fingers up here again, really nice fingernails, beautiful paint application added to those, just like we see as far as the snout coloration. We see the same on the fingers there, and the wing looks great over here. Really nice folds within the actual arms here as well. Coming down into the legs, you can see the legs do have that beautiful sickle claw going on, really nicely sculpted out toes. Again, very realistic paint application. It looks like it's painted with like almost like a goldish brown, and then it's been dry brushed over with a nice dark coloration, so it looks super, super realistic the way that they've painted that. Very nicely done, and I love how the toes are in different positions and everything, looking like it's flying in maybe to catch some sort of prey down there, something small that it's going to grab and eat. Really appealing looking pose, I think, for the figure. Looking here again, as far as the leg goes, you have that really nice plumage here on the legs, that beautiful appearance to the feathers. They are again sculpted really nicely down here and painted with that same style that the rest of the figure is painted, with that beautiful iridescent type look. Same deal here for the underside. And you can again see even some variation of like greens and everything here on the undersides. Look at how nicely that shines. That is so insanely cool as far as the paintwork on this figure. But again, the sculpting is top notch. This is way nicer than the previous Microraptor that they had released, which even that one was quite nice. And then we lead out the length of the tail. You can see some more kind of scruffy feathers as we lead out to the really nice tail feathers here on the end. And again, just continuing with that beautiful sculpt and detail, you can see how beautiful this looks out here. Really nicely sculpted as far as the feathers go, and again, really nicely painted. I love that kind of bluish coloration, then transitions to a green there for the tips of those two feathers that stick out at the end of the tail. Absolutely gorgeous in every possible way is this Microraptor, and it's definitely a Microraptor that I'm going to see any company having a very hard time beating out anytime in the near future. As far as a size goes, if we go from the head, I guess we go from like the crest of the head to the tip of the tail, you are looking at a little over 7 inches, actually about 7¼ inches, I would say, or about 18½, closing in on 19 centimeters. And then when it's sitting down like this for a height, you're going to see the head area at about 4½ inches or 11½ centimeters. And then the wings here, actually we'll go right about here, about 4¾ inches or 12 centimeters. As far as the wingspan goes as well, you are looking at about the 7-inch range or about 18 centimeters. For a size comparison, there is Mr. Papo T-Rex sneaking up behind our Microraptor, as well as the Attack Pack Colovosaurus and Robert Muldoon from the Mattel Jurassic World toy line next to the Microraptor. And seeing these figures here next with it hopefully will give you a good amount of respect for the overall size, because again, being a Microraptor, it actually sports some pretty darn decent size, especially for being such a small species of dinosaur. To have one with this really nice size is definitely a great choice on the part of PNSO, and I'm really happy that they chose to re-release a Microraptor with a larger size and give us more of a really beautiful looking model. Again, the previous one was smaller, but it was really nice, but this one is just ridiculously nice, and definitely one of my favorite PNSO releases in quite some time. So this 2020 PNSO Microraptor is definitely one of the best releases that PNSO has had had in quite some time, which is really saying something because they always release really nice products. But this Microraptor is just absolute beauty, pretty much in a box when it shows up, because the overall sculpt is really nice. I love the pose that they have portrayed here. I think a little stand to go with the Microraptor would have been a nice choice, because it would look a lot better if it was kind of up in the air a little bit, but I still think what they have given us here does balance quite nicely kind of on its tail and everything, and it looks really cool regardless, but maybe building a stand for it could look really cool as far as positioning the figure. But again, the Microraptor that they've given us here is much better than the previous release. Way nicer as far as both sculpt and paint. And again, that one was quite nice, but this one is just unbelievably flashy. The sculpt work on this thing is just mind-boggling. It is so beautiful. There is so much detail within the feathers, and again, I love how they've given it such like a really realistic look to the feathers, kind of scruffy feathers in certain areas, and even the flight feathers and everything looking kind of like crooked and just out of place. They just, so much realism has gone into the figure, and that's one thing I can always and continuously commend PNSO for, is just adding a lot of realism to their figures. But again, the detail of this figure is just off the charts. Unbelievable sculpt and detail. But then once we get into the paint aspect, the paint as well is definitely one of the nicest painted PNSO figures that I've ever seen, because it has such an incredibly flashy and very unique looking paint scheme, but again, a very realistic looking paint scheme, having that beautiful iridescence type of a look to it. It really reminds me of many birds that I've seen, how they kind of shine so realistically with many different colors within the light, and PNSO has portrayed that perfectly within this figure, and overall, everything about this is just awesome. A really, really beautiful release from PNSO, and again, probably one of my favorite releases that we've seen from them in a very long time. So if you would like to pick this up, I will include a link in the description to the PNSO Amazon store where I purchased mine, so make sure you head to the description, go pick yourself up this fantastic Microraptor, and make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.